Steelix looking to fire off some kind of annoying debuff move. Psychic Fangs, break and swipe. Trainer, you enjoy yourself. Psychic Fangs doesn't do much of anything. Steelix playing the inevitable out. We all know how this one's going to end. Welcome back to the channel. Despite Ultra League being here for over 2 days now, today was finally the first day I had the opportunity to battle as I finally have a day off from work. Season 23 has been pretty hyped so far. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. I think my favourite move update from the entire move rebalance was the quick move of Acid. Victreebel has always been a degenerate pick. Finally, it's got some energy generation to be able to pace insanely quickly to its hard hitting charge with a Leaf Blade and Sludge Bomb respectively. I tried this thing out in the Great League and had so much fun, so in Ultra League we looked to put it to work. I always like to give you that buy one get one free combo when I feature my own battles. We're not only going to be showcasing one newly buffed Pokemon, we're going to be showcasing two. I've been sitting on a Kanto Ninetales that I best buddied like 4 or 5 years ago. I believe it was caught in 2020. And today is that day that I finally power it up and invest in Elite TM to give it its buffed move of Ember. Putting these two on the same team. If I see something like a Giratina, I'm looking kind of cooked. So rounding the team out, we are going to have Lapras. Let's keep the intro short and sweet. Without any further ado, let's get into the battle. And in game 1, we lead Victreebel into Ninetales. Jamie Finn is the algorithm confirmed. Oh wait, they're on Powder Snow, so not as good as you might hope. We're going to farm up, catch the Weather Ball onto Lapras where it will be double resisted. I actually think that might have healed me. The opponent then sends out Cobalion, so my smugness is very short-lived. Lapras, of course, isn't favoured in this matchup, but will put in work. Sideways, a very good quick move, and the Sparkling Arias, or Sparkling Aureas I usually call them, do start to chunk over time. The second one will actually force a knockout. The opponent looking for that full double kick farm down. Lapras says no, and either going to take back switch or force a shield advantage. The opponent obliged, putting up that protection. I send out Ninetales. The opponent's likely YOLO and a Stone Edge, anticipating Victreebel re-entering the arena. Ninetales goes to the one shield, full Ember farm down, and leaves completely loaded. The Alolan variant of Ninetales can't enter the arena against this Kanto brother, so the opponent reveals their third, which is Giratina. This bloody thing has been reigning supreme in Ultra League all the way since Season 1. And it's really starting to annoy me as my team is insanely weak to it. I fire off the Weather Ball. The opponent actually shielded, recognising Giratina is their win con. We then get to land the overheat, but then pivot into Victreebel, sneaking the Acid in the process. I've got a shield and I will be using it here. If the opponent pivot out, which they do, we're going to fire off 4 Acids, trap the opponent into the CMP tile. They do not win. Leaf Blade will be removing Ninetales from the field of play. And the question now becomes, is double Leaf Blade going to knock out Giratina? Leaf Blade, one of the best 35 energy charge moves in the game. Actually, I sold it short. It is the very best 35 energy charge move in the game. And Victreebel is going to be a Giratina counter confirmed. And we're off to a quick 1-0 start. Heading into the next battle. Well, that is an absolute yikes lead. If I ever did see one, the opponent save switches into Como-O, and you better believe we are full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? They do not get that Como-O off my screen, and just like that, Lapras takes back switch. Oh man, poor old Victreebel has nowhere to run and nowhere to hide into this team. Out comes Alolan Muck. We land the first Sparkling Aria, the opponent continuing to snarl away, allowing Lapras to fire off the second Sparkling Aria, forcing the first Protect Shield of the game. I haven't really got a great way of dealing with that Ceruledge. So what I'm actually going to do is save Lapras, pivot into Kanto Ninetales, and Muck fires off back-to-back Dark Pulses. I'll tank the first and shield the second. Ceruledge re-enters the arena, and I dare the opponent to Shadow Ball me. The opponent go for the Flame Charge bait. Ninetales withstands the damage. I'm going to return fire the Weather Ball. Weather Ball is resisted, but all chip damage will be welcome. The opponent invests their final Protect Shield. Recognise they're not going to be able to incinerate farm down, and are forced to dump yet further energy. Down goes Ninetales. Lapras, of course, can now re-enter the arena. One boost and Incinerate simply will not get the job done. Lapras gonna fire off the Sparkling Aria, removing Ceruledge from the field of play. We pivot into Victreebel. Victreebel might be fully walled against Mark, but the opponent recognise they are solo. Leaf Blade will knock them out, and they concede the match. Heading into the next battle, I get my first look at PV Pope's current #1 ranked pick, Belly Bolt. And after playing my battles today, what I've learned is it's essentially the Dugong of the Ultra League. And what I mean by that is the opponent is going to shield the first move and then look to buff up their defense. Of course, Dugong looks to lower your attack, kind of does the same thing. It just essentially means that the subsequent charge moves after the first one will continue to do less and less. My Shadow Victreebel doesn't have the best PvP IVs. You can see I just missed out on the next Leaf Blade. So potentially if you had a good Victreebel, you'd actually reach 2 further Leaf Blades and force the opponent all shields down or just win the 0 to 1 shield scenario. I'm going to send out Ninetales. The opponent is going to reach 2 charge moves. We'll shield 1, tank 1. And the fact they keep buffing up their defense is actually good for me. It just gives me even more farm. You can see Ninetales already has an overheat banked, and the opponent sends out Lapras. We are just going to YOLO this overheat. Overheat hits for neutral. I'm going to do a lot. If it doesn't get respected, I pause a turn, try and catch a Sparkling Aria onto my own Lapras, and my catch attempt's unsuccessful. Out comes Primate. Again, trainer, close combat, you win. Rage Fist. And unfortunately for you, good buddy, that is going to be a loss. I don't know how many times I'm going to keep saying it this season. Masturbating is a terrible habit, and every time you masturbate, a poor defenseless cat loses its life. The second the opponent opted to go for the Rage Fist as opposed to close combat, this was a big fat G to the G. And the reason for that is we can shield once, knock out Primate. They're definitely in weatherable range. I've got a weatherable banked, and we've of course got a higher attack stat than Lapras. Even if the opponent can double up, which they have not, we'd win charge attack priority, and the result would end the same, with Jamie Finn, the washed up battler, emerging victorious. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, finally we see a fantastic lead, but we find ourselves somewhat core broken by a Talonflame save switch. I'm going to save switch into Lapras. These incinerates hit for neutral, and the opponent fire off a flame charge. The flame charge doesn't do too much, but does ramp up their attack, meaning the incinerates are shredding through my HP. In this scenario, of course, the opponent's desperate to flip switch advantage, to flip that alignment. I know switch advantage is lost, however, if the opponent wants switch, I'm going to force him to burn both Protect Shields here in the mid-game matchup. This is where I've got a decision to make. I've already decided that Ninetales is going to be completely dead weight. As I've lost switch, it's going to be aligned against Greninjas. I'm going to force the opponent to Brave Burn me. They've now heavily debuffed their defense, and I'm hoping 4 asses knock out. Heartbreakingly, it took 5. If it only took 4, we wouldn't have took the second Incinerate. And as I've got Cresselia in the back, this game would have ended in victory. You're going to see that big bad bulky Cresselia gets knocked out from 3 Leaf Blades. Every one of them Incinerates did like 33% of my health, meaning we're just far too low. Poor old Victreebel has been thrown to the wall and is going to die to a resisted Water Shrieking. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we found ourselves a problem as my Shadow Victreebel stares down Optimus Prime, more commonly known as Zygarde. My quick move of acid is resisted, as ground does resist poison, but you can see the leaf blade that hits for neutral does a lot of neutral damage. Shadow Vic, believe it or not, insanely glassy, even in the Ultra League, but Zygarde hits like a wet noodle. We're able to tank the crunch, fire off 1 further leaf blade, getting the opponent into the red health range. Of course, I was forced to end this matchup as Ninetales is completely walled. I'm going to send out Lapras to operate as the damage sponge. The opponent fire off another crunch. It doesn't do much of anything. The opponent then saves Zygarde and pivot out into Feraligatr. And of course, this is where I'm going to stay. We've already now seen 2 things on the team that resist fire. So hopefully Ninetales at least can hit whatever's in the back for neutral. I think Ninetales is quite a high risk, high reward Pokemon. There's quite a lot of type-ins in the Ultra League that do resist fire. Lapras fires off the next Sparkling Aria to my surprise, going unshielded. The opponent looks to 2-shield their third. Out comes Mott. Rather than concede a farm down, I pivot into Ninetales. I need to be wary the opponent can make a catch. For me, this battle's quite simple. I need to start shielding essentially everything. The opponent fire off the Thunder Punch, send back out Zygarde, just feed me free energy. And just like that, this game is over. Ninetales fires off a Weather Ball. The first one forces the opponent's first Protect Shield. After just 1 more Ember, I'm already doubled up. The second Weather Ball forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. Ninetales says there's plenty more of where that came from the third one. Gets the opponent low. I attempt to snipe with Lapras, but the opponent playing it out to the very bitter end. Thunder Punch moves Lapras from the field of play. Ninetales Ember farms down Mark, and we will be back to winning ways. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the battle of the grass types. The opponent save switches into Drapion. We're going to bank some energy and then send out Lapras. This is actually a purified Drapion, which is kind of better for me as these crunches don't do anywhere near as much damage. This season, Crunch's defense drop chance has been dropped to 20% now as well, meaning the defense drop isn't anywhere near as common as it once was. Lapras tanks both, fires off the Sparkling Aria. The first one forces the opponent's first protection. The opponent is going to look to dump energy before the second one's reached. Switch advantage isn't really important to me. Both my Pokemon are going to be very good against Virizion. We send out Ninetales, looking to get ahead on energy. The opponent gives up switch, sending out Gator. My trainer, are you sure about that? Leaf Blade almost picks up the 1-hit KO, and this is only a Hydro Cannon, which is easily survivable. Vic tanks the damage, commits to the acid farm down, leaving with a Leaf Blade good to go. To my surprise, the opponent sends out Virizion. When I played this match, I was thinking, are they on quick attack? We fire off the Sludge Bomb. A Sludge Bomb almost picks up the 1-hit KO. The Victreebel's attack stat, absolutely disgusting. We send out Ninetales, the opponent not wanting to concede a farm down, send back out Drapion. We've got 2 shields, but no one move will knock out the opponent. Fire off the Aqua Tail. We're going to farm up to the double Weather Wall. You know the drill. The first one will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and the second is going to be All Shiro. I'm actually going to stop tapping here. I was like, am I going mad, or is that actually a quick attack Virizion? It is indeed a quick attack Virizion. I'm not entirely sure that's a quick move you want, but it is what it is. Heading into the next battle. Speaking of funky quick moves, this opponent is opting for Thunder Shot. I think Belly Bolt's only rose in prevalence this season. Because it's got Sucker Punch, I mean, you've actually got some kind of coverage that isn't a full electric moveset. Victreebel certainly not complaining. They might be quicker to charge moves, but everything's resisted, whereas the Sucker Punch variant would be hitting for neutral. By no means are you ever going to see me run this nonsense bulky Pokemon. However, I think this battle is a case in point on why you want Sucker Punch. The opponent's actually going to be forced to go down both Protect Shields. They want to keep this Belly Bolt alive. The opponent loses the 0-1 shield scenario. Out comes Talonflame. I don't want this thing to start getting an energy, so I'm going to pivot out into Lapras, saving Victreebel as the third shield, and we bait out Virizion. We full send the Ice Beam, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent is going to return fire with the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade does hit hard, but simply doesn't get the job done. Lapras reaches the next Ice Beam. No baits required. Get that Virizion off my screen. Talonflame does get an Incinerate farm down, but we've got a 2-0 shield advantage. I see a lot of people run either Psyshock or Scorching Sand for some coverage. However, I'm going to show you don't need coverage. You just need that Hail Mary nuke. We're going to farm up, make the catch, back onto Victreebel, saving a shield intact, just in case my calculation of overheat, getting the job done, is a miscalculation. I'm going to farm up, fire off the overheat, Talonflame, still above 50%, but overheat, hits like a truck, and one further Ember is going to get the job done. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see the battle of buff poison types. I see everyone seems to be hyping up the Poison Sting version of Tentacruel. Later in the week, we're going to use the Acid Shadow version. I think Acid's just objectively better. We throw the Leaf Blade on 8. One quick move for the opponent. Potentially reach the Blizzard, and we're able to catch the double resisted Blizzard onto Lapras. A very nice catch, if I do say so myself. Out comes Chestnut. To be honest, Tentacruel are somewhat of a problem for my team, so I'm having to invest one Protect Shield and look to force the opponent all shields down, or just keep Lapras healthy. Potentially Tentacruel or the opponent's third. Ice Beam removes them from the field of play, and out comes Guzzlord. Once again, we are full sending. Does the opponent respect the damage? Maybe I need to start baiting. We're going to save Lapras and then send out Ninetales and look to get Hidden Energy. We know Ninetales is fully walled against both remaining Pokemon. We've already seen from previous battles that Shadow Ninetales doesn't really care about type-ins. We bait Tentacruel back into the arena. I'm going to shield at the Scald, and then I'm going to fire off the Weather Ball into Overheat combination, hoping to move Tentacruel from the field of play. Weather Ball puts them below half health, and we're going to YOLO the Overheat. Is this Overheat going to knock out big bulky Tentacruel? Unfortunately, it does not, but it gets them low. The opponent looking to Sting farm down, clearly not up to speed with just how quickly we pace these charge moves. Weather Ball, even debuff, removes them from the field of play, and we pivot out into Victreebel. I never thought I'd see the day where I'm tasking my Shadow Victreebel with cleanup duty against an Ultra League Guzzlord. We tank the Dragon Claw, one Acid and the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb rocks them into the red outside of one Dragon Tail range, meaning we can reach the Leaf Blade, and Victreebel is a Guzzlord counter confirmed. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Cradilly in the lead position. This one is still on Bullet Seed, which is a 3-turn move, so ideally, for good fast move timing, you should throw one quick move, 4 or 7. However, Cradilly users seem to be the exception, where I'm going to throw on 6, winning CMP, getting my charge move off before we're inevitably debuffed. The opponent then gives up switch, sending out Ampharos. We're going to take the opportunity to bank a charge move before sending Ninetales into the arena. The opponent farmed up to a potential Focus Blast. We invest a Protect Shield, and holy moly, the opponent full sent a Zap Cannon. Very grateful, I respected that damage. We're then going to fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball isn't lethal, but the opponent isn't going to reach another Zap Cannon. This is likely a brutal swing. Ninetales is actually reasonably bulky, and so it should be as well, as this one is level 51. Able to Ember farm down, back out comes Cradilly, and we look to return fire with our own nuke. We fire off the Overheat, which unfortunately does go shielded. Ninetales has done its job, and I'm happy to let it go down. Of course, I'm just going to realign myself, sending Victreebel back into this Cradilly. We've got a whole heap of energy. I fire off one Acid and the Leaf Blade for optimal fast move timing. Leaf Blade goes unshielded. The opponent then looks to make a catching the Leaf Blade onto Galarian Weezing, but all they're going to catch is the Sludge Bomb to the face. After landing the Sludge Bomb, we can send out Lapras, and Lapras is just going to commit to the full Sideway farm down. Once again here, the opponent YOLO yet another nuke. I really enjoyed this battle, to be honest. It was just two trainers YOLO and nuke after nuke. Weezing unable to reach another overheat. They only reach a debuff sludge, which doesn't get the job done. Lapras is going to leave with the Ice Beam locked and loaded. And that is going to be all she wrote. Shout out this opponent. Very fun battle. Heading into the next battle. We see Cobalion in the lead position. Once again, I'm kind of obliged to stay in despite my quick move being double resisted, and Leaf Blade, despite being a very good move, also resisted. I can't really afford to pivot out as we don't really want Lapras aligned against Cobalion. In a scenario like this, what my opponent should realise is we've got something else that doesn't want to see them, and I'm likely sacking this Pokemon. They perhaps have realised that, thinking I'm going to shield. I have no intention of shielding this, I just intend to completely sacrifice it. You still need to Stone Edge as well, trainer. You doubled up on Sacred Swords, but if you think Cobalion is winning CMP against Victreebel, you must be mad. In a matchup where my quick move is double resisted and my charge moves are either resisted or double resisted, we would have won the zero shield scenario and we're actually able to force ourselves a shield advantage. Once again, it's due to the opponent baiting, in my humble opinion, for no reason whatsoever. Out comes Jellicent. Unfortunately, both my remaining Pokemon can only hit this thing for resisted with charge moves, but Overheat, a very good move and still does some very solid damage. We fire off the Overheat. We attempt to catch a Surf on Lapras. My catch attempt unsuccessful, so I'm going to respect the Shadow Ball, and the opponent does full send it before sending out Gator. This opponent's running a double water strategy, which isn't ideal really for my backline with Victreebel down. I can only hit for resisted with all four of my charge moves with my two remaining Pokemon. However, you can see the Psy Waves are chunking through Gator, and we are outside of Hydro Cannon range ourselves. Both me and my opponent still have one shield remaining. I've already decided I'm going to save that shield for the move coming from Jellicent. We're going to tank the next Hydro Cannon, over farm, fire off the Sparkling Aria. Sparkling Aria goes unshielded, back out comes Jellicent. I'm going to fire off this Sparkling Aria and I need to pivot, sending Ninetales back into the arena rather than concede a farm down. The opponent invests a final Protect Shield. We send out Ninetales. Ninetales is going to invest this Protect Shield. It's now receiving the energy for the overheat. We've seen the first one, did around 40%. They're definitely below 40% HP and Ninetales is going to clean up. GG's to that opponent. It kind of felt like a bit of a disappointing day in some regards. Ninetales has targets in the Ultra League. I wasn't really able to align it or actually find any of the targets I'm looking for. However, despite this, we've taken out so many Pokemon with resisted overheats, which was kind of fun. In the next battle, once again, we see this stupid Belly Bolt. The opponent, much like all other opponents, shields the first Leaf Blade and look to buff up their defense. Once again, my IVs here are going to let me down. We're not going to reach the third Leaf Blade, which is kind of unfortunate, but we still do obtain ourselves a shield advantage in this opening matchup. Once again, we're just going to look to farm this thing down and get an overheat ready for whatever should enter the arena. Hopefully at least it hits for neutral, because we know when it hits for neutral, we are in for one hell of a good time. We tank the first, shield the second. The opponent concede a huge farm down and Ninetales leaves completely loaded. Out comes Guzzlord. Oh man, poor old Ninetales overheat. Doesn't do too much, but does put him into Ice Beam range, and out comes Drapion. Interestingly, another non-Shadow Drapion, so as long as we don't get the defense drop, we can tank two moves. However, I'm probably going to consider shielding the second one, as we are going to take quite a lot of Dragon Tail damage. Sparkling Aria goes unshielded. I'm going to shield this move up, and I'm going to hope to be able to catch back onto Ninetales, banking all this energy. You can see my fingers tapping, switch timer isn't up, I'm forced to dump this move. We're going to fire off the Sparkling Aria. Sparkling Aria goes unshielded. Back out comes Guzzlord. We're going to YOLO the Ice Beam, hoping the opponent looks to call the bait. Of course they invest that Protect Shield and we pivot back into Ninetales. The opponent doesn't throw. Ninetales reaches the OV. OV doesn't get the job done. The opponent looking for the Dragon Tail farm down. Ninetales actually able to Ember farm down and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Tentacle once again in the lead position. Much like we saw previously, I'm going to throw this Leaf Blade on 8. Hope the opponent is full sending a Blizzard. And we look to catch on Lapras. This opponent bank all their energy and send out Cradilly. Once again, we're going to YOLO the nuke. Ice Beam, either guarantee big damage or force a Protect Shield. The opponent obliges, putting up that Protect Shield. Ever horny to debuff me before potentially tanking a charge move. Rock Tomb rocks Lapras low, but Lapras able to withstand the damage and reach Ice Beam number 2. A debuffed Ice Beam still does decent damage, putting them into the red health range with a few further Psy Waves. The opponent actually looks to Bullet Seed farm us down. Lapras says no, reaches the Sparkling Aria and forces both Protect Shields here in the mid-game matchup. This is definitely a scenario I wish I had something like a Steel type to fully wall this moveset. I send out Victreebel, Tank the Rock Tomb, look to fire off the Leaf Blade, winning CMP. The opponent actually choose to catch on Tentacruel, but that works for me. Leaf Blade gets the opponent low and it's a charge attack priority. So looking back on this battle, what I should have done when the opponent caught is undercharge that move. Tentacruel is always reaching a skull. In an ideal world, I need to Ember farm down, leaving with a Weather Ball because I would win CMP against Cradilly. I don't have a move banked and I'm forced to burn both Protect Shields here, and I'm very annoyingly debuffed with no ability to ever reset it. Despite being debuffed, if we had a type neutral matchup in the back with a huge energy lead, I think we'd have a chance here, but unfortunately that is a Guzzlord, which we've got no real ability of beating. I thought at the time potentially a Weather Ball into double overheat would be the way to go, but that is going to cost far too much energy. The opponent fire off the crunch, we're left deep in the red. Even debuffed, it looks like 2 overheats with some residual embers would have come close to knocking out. We don't make it, and this one does end in defeat. Heading into the next battle, we see Greedent in the lead position. What the heck is this, like season 12? So Greedent's pacing is essentially the same as Quagsire. Aqua Tail and Body Slam both cost 35 energy, and they're both using Mud Shot for a quick move, which means they're going to alternate between 5 quick moves and 4. We land the Leaf Blade, catch the next Body Slam onto Lapras. Our Lapras say switch, baits out Clefable, and I was like, how are they at Moonblast already? I was like, I'm sure that's 6. And it was 6, so I get Meteor Mash to the face. If this opponent's running Meteor Mash and Moonblast, double Meteor Mash looks like the way to go, as it's going to take 2 moves to knock out. The opponent does need to Meteor Mash to remove me from the field of play. They're actually running Meteor Mash Swift, running Clefable without Moonblast. That is certainly a choice. Lapras able to win the mid-game matchup. Back out comes Greedent. Greedent able to Mud Shot farm down. I'm keeping track of energy. I'm just going to send out Victreebel and look to fire off this Leaf Blade, winning charge attack priority. The opponent plays the CMP, so they do not win. Shout out the GOAT, Home Slice Henry, for that quote. The opponent invests that Protect Shield, revealing they might be weak to grass in the back. I invest the Protect Shield. The opponent sends out Tentacruel. Tentacruel going to be greeted with the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade goes unshielded. I pivot into Ninetales. As is Shadow on Shadow Crime, I've just got to reach double Weather Ball. I'm going to shield this move up. Hopefully I don't get Acid Spray baited. The opponent full sends the Scold. We farm up to the double Weather Ball. 1 will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. And even resisted 1 is going to knock this very cool shiny Flex Tentacruel from the field of play. Back out comes Greedent. Greedent is going to reach a dying Body Slam, but Body Slam, a trash move. Not going to get the job done. The Ember Sneak knocks him out, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Drifblim in the lead position, of course. An awful matchup for me, but I'm going to bank some energy and try my luck at a cheeky double resisted Ice Wing catch onto Lapras. Whilst banking the energy is nice, catching the double resisted move is also nice. We're now immediately debuffed as soon as we hit the field of play, but the balloon remains on my screen. We YOLO the Ice Beam, even debuff rocks them deep into the red health range. As the opponent's staying in here, they've probably got something else that doesn't want to see Lapras, but as I'm debuffed, I don't really fancy shielding. The opponent sends out Nidoqueen. They're looking for the Sting farm down. We're able to reach the Sparkling Aria. Rather than concede a farm down, I make use of the misaligned time. I go for the wham, bam, combo play, send out Victreebel. The first Leaf Blade lands. I've got 2 shields. We're going to be switch locked for a while, so I may as well invest 1 here and try and remove Nidoqueen from the field of play. We fire off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade removes them from the field of play, and out comes Toxicroak. I'll be honest, I'm a big fan of this team the opponent's running. Very cool and very spicy. Leaf Blade is resisted, although it doesn't really look like it. The opponent makes a very nice catch, catching the next Leaf Blade onto Drifblim. However, unfortunately, it's simply too little too late. I've got a full health Ninetales with a shield to hide behind. No one move will knock me out, so we're going to tank the first, see what they throw. They actually go for the Sludge Bomb. I think I personally would go for Dynamic Punch and Shadow Ball respectively. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Machamp in the lead position, a very cool Pokemon. Something you don't see too commonly anymore. We fire off the Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade obtains me an early shield advantage, and out comes Gliscopod. We're going to fire off the Leaf Blade, and then hopefully that puts me in a range where I can just fully Psywave farm him down. Gliscopod here is forced to go for the less energy efficient X-Scissor as opposed to the Aqua Jet they'd normally be spamming out. You can see Lapras looking for the farm down. The opponent reaches 1 further X-Scissor. Can we Psywave farm down before the 3rd? Lapras looks for it. Oh my days, that is like invisible HP and a very bad mistake on my part. I end up losing like 100 energy, but of course I can't shield as Machamp has energy bank. And if I shield, I just lose CMP. Out comes Drapion. We farm up, look to catch the crunch, back onto Ninetales. And we get defense dropped as well. I think this is kind of what you deserve, to be honest. When you make a mistake, the game's kind of got its way of punishing you. But we're able actually there to call a cross-chop bait, which means I can shield this up and make the opponent make a decision where they burn the final protect shield. Despite playing quite poorly to this part, we're not out of it yet. Weather Ball isn't lethal. We're able to fully farm down. Back out comes Drapion. Hopefully this is a Crunch Sludge Bomb variant. Because if they've got Aqua Tail, they could just essentially throw double Aqua Tail here. The opponent farms their Crunch and their moveset is about to be revealed. Oh man, they're on Aqua Tail. Does double Leaf Blade knock out? Invic, I believe, the first Leaf Blade doesn't quite do enough damage. I commit to the Sludge Bomb, recognise I'm going to fall short, throw one Acid and the Leaf Blade on the CMP tie. Drapion able to hang on, and this opponent is going to pick up a well-deserved dub. Really not proud of that gameplay, but it is what it is. Heading into the next battle. We see Fortress in the lead position, interestingly running Volt Switch, but I can't really stay in that matchup as Victreebel is hitting for double resisted with the Acids. And actually double resisted with the Leaf Blade as well, as both Steel and Bug do resist Grass, meaning that is a horrendous matchup. We say switch into Lapras, baiting out Belly Bolt. Despite the opponent having a type advantage matchup here, Lapras, at least the Shadow version looks like it does cleanly win the Zero Shield scenario. Unfortunately, just miss out on the next Sparkling Aria, but we have at least forced ourselves a shield advantage here in the mid-game matchup. Victreebel going to be operating as the damage sponge. That is a sentence you're not going to hear me say too often. We're just going to look to knock this thing out instantly and hope Ninetales upper Protect Shield can sweep the back line. The opponent actually invests the final Protect Shield. Oh baby. Parabolic Charge doesn't knock me out. We're going to pivot into Ninetales. Ninetales looks for the Ember farm down. Unfortunately, unable to get it. I'm going to invest one Protect Shield here. Fortress isn't quite a move yet. If they enter the arena, you already know that Ovi is cleanly going to knock them out. The opponent sends out Lapras. Lapras going to be greeted with the Weather Ball into Overheat combination. Lapras, you might think you're thick, but the question now becomes, are you thick enough? We burn the final Protect Shield, blocking up the Sparkling Aria. I'm going to heavily overfarm, fire off the Ovi. The question is Ovi enough to knock out? Have no doubt. Get that Lapras off my screen. I'm going to bank the Ovi, reset my debuff, knowing I'm always going to win CMP. The opponent actually opted to throw energy here, but even if they didn't, Ninetales has the higher attack, and Ovi, double super effective. We'll probably kill this Fortress and every Fortress that's ever entered the Go Battle League. GG's to that opponent. Finally, Ninetales cleans house, heading into the next battle. That is a yikes lead. We're going to throw one Acid, say switch into Lapras. The opponent banks some energy. And would you believe it, yet another Belly Bolt enters the arena. How long is it going to be before people are looking to RPS this nonsense with Mud Slappers? I'll tell you how long. Potentially tomorrow by me personally. Maybe not a Mud Slapper actually. Potentially Shadow Flygon would be fun. It triple resist electric as ground, double resist, and Dragon also resist as well. If you want to see the Shadow Flygon video, post it down below and you better believe I'll put that content out there. Returning to this battle, on the plus side at least we're able to force ourselves a shield advantage in the mid-game matchup, as this opponent, like every single opponent we've seen today, did shield the first move, looking to buff up their defense. Back out comes Skeledirge. We throw one Acid, transfer the Incinerate onto Ninetales, and out comes a Charm Primarina. We are definitely not out of this battle yet. Ninetales needs to do a lot of heavy lifting. Overheat would probably knock out from this range, as Primarina isn't the bulkiest, but of course I don't want to lower my own attack. We fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, 4 further Embers, and the next Weather Ball for optimal fast move timing. Unfortunately, that Weather Ball isn't quite lethal, so I'm forced to throw another one, but like this, at least I do keep my shield intact. Down goes Primarina, back out comes Skeledirge, and the opponent looks to dump their energy instantly. Ninetales going to be investing the final Protect Shield. The opponent goes to the Flame Charge, vamping up their attack. We switch. I forgot how to move bank like an absolute potato there. I could have got a CMP sack swap, but I'm old. I'm forgetful, you know how it is. Ninetales looks to close the show. Going for once again the Weather Ball into Overheat combination. Ninetales close the show once again. Only throwing resisted charge moves. GG's to that opponent. I think I said that Skeledirge through Flame Charge. Of course, it's Torch Song. They're both of the same thing. They're both vamp up. They're already impressive Incinerate damage. In the next battle. What the heck is this? Rock Throat Aurorus. Come on. Someone's winding me up here, aren't they? Am I about to lose to some early season nonsense? We're double weak to rock in the backs. This essentially is where the team wants to see it. I'm going to heavily overfarm and try and confuse the opponent's counts, hoping they don't know Acid Leaf Blade counts. We fire off the Leaf Blade. The opponent doesn't make a catch. Victreebel will be claiming its target, and I'm going to blind switch into Lapras rather than concede a farm down. We send out Lapras, the opponent sends Guzzlord into the arena. I need to be mindful the opponent potentially look to catch an Ice Beam on whatever their third is. You can see there I threw it in the middle of the Dragon Tail, so this Ice Beam lands on its intended target. Ice Beam rocks Guzzlord into the red health range, but we're never ever really going to sideway farm him down. The Psychic is double resisted by Guzzlord's sub-dark typing. With that in mind, I'm just going to fire off this Sparkling Aria, look to move Guzzlord from the field of play. We then got Ninetales up a Protect Shield, with Victreebel as a potential sack swap. Out comes Nidoking. What is this team? We're able to make a catch, back onto Victreebel, somewhat saving my blushes. The opponent fire off a Mega Horn, of course. You don't really want a Mega Horn a fire type, as Bug is resisted by fire. Not entirely sure what the heck happened in this battle. We overheat him to the face, and we're going to move swiftly on. In the next battle, we found ourselves a problem. The Dragon Breath variant of Giratina, very, very advantageous into at least 2 of the 3 Pokemon. Out comes Confusion Cresselia. So when I first saw this team, I've already made a read that the third is going to be Registeel. This team was like really common in the early seasons. It's essentially bullshit bulk with triple legendaries. Excuse my French. Lapras is my only real way of getting rid of that Giratina. So with that in mind, I'm going to shield at this Grass Knot. I'm then going to overfarm, fire off one further Sparkling Aria, looking to force my Protect Shield back. And then when the opponent receives the energy for their next Grass Knot, we're going to go for the CMP sack, winning CMP with Victreebel, and look to remove Cresselia from the field of play. Down goes Cresselia. Hopefully my team reads right, and I think we could win somewhat via RPS. Well, I think that's a bit unfair, to be honest. I think it's me that's being RPS to thus point in the battle, but at least my third should beat their third if my team reads right. Giratina finally dumps some energy. We get off the Leaf Blade, but the opponent gets yet more energy together, getting the Dragon Breath farm down. I send out Lapras. I'm just going to settle for the Sparkling Aria, recognise the opponent has a whole boatload of energy, and I just want to get off any chip damage I physically can. The opponent doesn't commit to the full Dragon Breath farm down. To be honest, I'm not sure if that's good or bad for me. Good they've dumped some energy, but bad as I kind of needed the Sidewave damage, as they're not even in weatherable range yet, and I've got no way of resetting a debuff with a full send and overheat. The opponent Shadow forced me to the face. Ouch. Oh boy, this is not going well. We're going to fire off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball isn't lethal. We're able to Ember farm down. Please be a Steel type. Nope, that's a Greninja. One Water Shrieker knocks me out, and we get absolutely clapped. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the final battle of today's Shoutcast, we see Toxicroak in the lead position. Not a bad matchup here, to be honest, despite us hitting entirely for resist and them having the ability to hit for neutral. Toxicroak is so glassy, we're able to force ourselves an early shield advantage. Opponent is going to need to Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball to pick up the knockout. The opponent falls in the Shadow Ball. This just sets up Lapras an opportunity to go for the one shield and get a massive sideway farm down. Unless, of course, the opponent pivot out. The opponent throw the Dynamic Punch. They don't pivot out, they concede a farm down and then send out Belly Bolt. Lapras going to fire off back-to-back Sparkling Arias. I'm going to look to force myself a cheeky shield advantage here and then look to catch the, what's this move called? Parabolic Charge. I've seen it about 200 times today. It's that forgetful that I'm just trying to remove it from my brain. We do catch the Parabolic Charge. Back onto Ninetales. The opponent then pivots out into Steelix. Old trainer, are you sure about that? The opponent looks to fire off some kind of annoying debuff move. Psychic Fangs break and swipe trainer. You enjoy yourself, Steelix. Insanely thick. Not sure a Weather is going to knock out, but I have no doubt Overheat will get the job done. Get that Steelix off my screen. Back out comes Belly Bolt. With debuff, but Weather Ball is still going to do some decent chip damage. We pivot into Lapras. Lapras able to Sidewave farm down, and we take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for my first battle in Season 23's Ultra League. I think Victreebel is greatly improved. I never thought I'd see the day where I was able to run a spammy version of Victreebel in the Open Ultra League, and I'm all for move updates like this. Scopely, keep them coming. I think you can see the potential Ninetales has got, despite it pretty much being in the wrong alignment matchups for the entirety of today. Which was a whole 6 sets. I hardly saw any matchups that I actually wanted to see time and time again. That resisted Overheat was able to get us over the line. So if you actually get more favourable alignment than me, I think this Pokemon is very good, or at least very playable. Lapras needs no introduction, a top meta threat despite the move rebalance. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you'd like your battles featured on my channel. A link to our battle submission form is down below, and as always, a huge thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.